William McCann is the director and writer and lead actor of The Liberator, who brings to life the inspiring journey of Ireland's Daniel O'Connell in this sweeping yet intimate independent film. And William is with us here. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Thank you, Toby.
So, what was it that inspired you to create The Liberator, and why did you choose to create a film based on Daniel O'Connell?
Yeah, and thank you for that fantastic introduction. It goes back quite a few years to my days as an exchange student, or as they called it in Cork, Ireland, an occasional student, which was actually kind of fitting in another way.
Yeah.
But I came across this character as part of a history class and was very impressed by him, but also astonished that his story wasn't more widely known. I view him as in that caliber of character as a Martin Luther King, for example, not only for what he did, but the way he did it. And I really felt that his story should be more widely known. And there's a lot of reasons, I think, for the reasons that he's not, his legacy isn't appreciated as much as I think it should be. But I really had the idea then, and that goes back about 35 years ago, that his life and legacy would make for a very compelling film.
It showcases O'Connell's rise from humble beginnings to becoming this prominent figure. So how did you approach portraying his early years in contrast with his later achievements?
Yeah, I thought that was very important because an abiding theme of O'Connell is that strong tie throughout his life that he always had with the people of Ireland, the ordinary people. There's a great book, a biography called King of the Beggars, which I toyed with the idea of calling my film that as well, because it really does illustrate that strong tie. And what I tried to play up was this concept that O'Connell was actually reared as a young baby and as a toddler by a foster mother who was, more a woman of the local Irish people until he was 4 or 5 years old. And he really thought he was part of that family. He grew up, he only spoke Irish at that point. And I really felt that was what instilled that affinity for him with the Irish people. And so I then wanted to illustrate that. And then I made actually characters in the script out of that foster family.
It expresses O'Connell's peaceful rebellion. So how did you translate these moments of resistance into compelling cinematic scenes?
Well, right. That's a key part of this film. And as I think you're alluding, you don't hear a lot about peaceful resistance between the English and the Irish over the centuries.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. He was totally committed to that. I think some of that started through his own experience, actually witnessing as a very young man the French Revolution, but also seeing the rebellion of 1798 with Wolfe Tone and others, and seeing how that played out. And he came to that realization that it was going to take a peaceful effort and peaceful effort only to bring about the kind of change that would be lasting and meaningful, in addition to being moral. And I tried to illustrate that through the techniques that he brought to bear. One of the lines from the film that I really like, I didn't make up myself, I read in a biography somewhere, is that he went and became an attorney, and he took all Ireland as his client. And so he began to use his legal knowledge and skills to really represent and go through the process. And then really using persuasion through his legally trained mind on why the rights that were being denied to the Catholics of Ireland at that time were certainly not moral, but even not legal. And he really used that training. And so I try to illustrate that through all the court cases that he took on, the speeches that he would frequently make, to illustrate, and just the hands-on hard work of bringing together a movement. There's some scenes in there where he's literally taking people off the street to be part of the Catholic Association, because if he doesn't, there won't be enough members of the association to have a quorum to actually meet. And he wants the meeting to go forward. So he's dragging people off the street, including a seminarian and another just passerby to fill out the meeting.
Did you have to do a lot of research about Daniel O'Connell, and I suppose the whole situation at the time? Because I suppose peace and the whole kind of English-Irish thing, along with religion, is quite a delicate subject for a lot of people. So you have to get all the facts right.
Exactly. So I've done extensive research over the years, reading virtually everything I could get my hands on in terms of biographies and speeches and other materials about Daniel O'Connell and his life. And absolutely, you're right, and the times, because it is a delicate time. It's kind of a delicate subject, but I wanted to make sure it was authentic. Obviously, when you're trying to tell a man's story in 2 hours on film, you're going to have to take some liberties, excuse the pun, to try to tell that story in a compelling way within the time, the limitations that you have. But I do feel very confident that we captured. It's really the story is authentic. Many of the speeches, in fact, are updates, because there's change in meanings of words, but are updates from the speeches that he used, whether in court or in front of crowds or in other instances. So it did require a great deal of research to make sure that we were getting it right in terms of the not only the events, but the spirit of what he was trying to do.
Yeah. Now, were there any memorable experiences or anecdotes from the filming process?
Toby, this was the first film that I ever tried to take on. I did so because I wrote a screenplay that I hoped would attract attention from, big budgeted Hollywood types of folks. And I made some forays at that in my early days to try to make that happen. But I was not successful in attracting that kind of attention. And I actually came across, as working with some drama groups locally, some friends, and I was talking to them about my efforts. And they said, well, Bill, it sounds like you've got something interesting here. It almost reminds us of like A Man for All Seasons, that very famous film about St. Thomas More. And in fact, it really is. It's actually kind of the 300 years later, kind of an ending to that story, because it was Thomas More who originally defied kind of the English and the king, and not willing to take an oath of supremacy. But they said, hey, maybe if you adapt it as a stage play, we could pull that off. So in fact, I did that. Rewrote it so that it would be a stage play. Got 40 or so people to come together and with various parts, and we pulled it off. We did several performances. This goes back to 2017. So from there, I thought, well, if we could pull it off as a stage play, maybe we could do a low budget, no big stars, but our own version of this as a film. So I rewrote it to kind of fit those constraints. And then brought many of those same actors who had been in the stage play back so that they could perform, that we could pull it off as a film.
Now, you mentioned earlier about Daniel O'Connell's story maybe not being as known as it should be. So do you hope the film itself will contribute to creating awareness about him?
That is absolutely part of the goal, yes. I was so intent on making this film, whether on my own or with help from others, because I just feel that story is not appreciated the way it should. Again, for both, in my view, for both what he accomplished, which I think was significant, but also for the way he accomplished it and the example that it sets today. I often felt if Martin Luther King wasn't known 100 years from now, I think that would be a tragedy. Yeah. And I think 200 years later, the fact that Daniel O'Connell's contributions and methods and example aren't known is very unfortunate. So yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping that this will bring more interest to Daniel O'Connell. Obviously not a be-all, end-all. I have a website about this where I've listed many books that I recommend if someone sees the film and wants to know more. I think there's a lot more that can be understood about O'Connell and his contributions.
Well, is there anything else you're working on after this film? Are there more coming up?
The bug has definitely bitten. I would love to do more. There's another fantastic Irish character by the name of John Boyle O'Reilly. I'm not sure if you ever heard of him. He came a bit later than O'Connell. Amazing life. I'll just tell you quickly. He has the distinction of being sent off to Australia and is one of the only folks who actually escaped and made it to the U.S. So you can imagine there's quite a compelling story there.
Yeah, that sounds thrilling. And in the meantime, this film is, of course, called The Liberator. Where are all the places, or maybe just the place, that we're able to watch it and find out about it?
Right. So thank you. We're streaming currently. So you can stream it if you have access to Prime or Tubi. And we're working on trying to find more platforms as well to stream it. Or you can actually get a physical DVD or Blu-ray disc. And we do ship internationally as well as in the United States. So that if you visit our website, theliberatormovie.com, there are links to all of those options.
Excellent. Well, many thanks for talking to us today. It's been great having you on.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.